Thank you everybody for coming back. This session is going to be on love or infatuation. Now you may remember a previous session that we did that dealt with friendships. What were the qualities in true friendships? I'm going to ask you to try to remember what we talked about in that session. In that session, we found out and learned about what makes healthy friendship, somebody you can trust, somebody that wouldn't hurt you, somebody that wouldn't lead you into trouble. And in this session here, what we're going to be dealing with here is essentially what is love or what is infatuation, because those are two entirely different things. And essentially what is real love. So, out of that, there'll be a couple familiar boards up to here. Chastity is for everybody, and chastity is sexual respect, sexual reverence, and sexual restraint in our relationships. And again, you may remember the spice flower, be pure in thought, word, and action. And again, express sexual desire with respect, reverence, and restraint. So, getting to the expression of love. How often do you hear the word love being used in a day? I don't know about you, but I hear it all the time. I love pizza. I love this car. I love this football team. I love this hockey team. I love that song. All of that deals with essentially a feeling over something that we may have. Like, I love pizza because it gives me a great feeling in the taste. But essentially, that's not really what love is. Feelings can be pleasurable or non-pleasurable. And oftentimes, love is a feeling at first because it starts from something that is pleasurable. I may feel attractive to somebody, and from that attraction, I get this feeling of pleasure, excitement, kind of heart pitter-pattery when that person is around. And by the same token, there are also non-pleasurable feelings, like if I get angry, if I get embarrassed over something. So feelings and emotions are very important. They help us to understand ourselves. Feelings only feel, they don't really know. There isn't a knowing aspect to having a feeling at all. To understand real love, then, we have to understand that it probably does start as a feeling. Essentially, one of the best examples of love as a feeling is I have watched my wife give birth 3 times now to children. And each specific time that has happened, at the moment that that child enters into this world and comes out of her womb, I have cried every single time. And it is an amazing feeling. And I would expect if we have more children, that feeling will happen again. Now, that's a pleasurable feeling. Now, what goes along with that shortly after is the non-pleasurable part. Because each baby that has come home has essentially slept all day and stayed up all night for the first couple of weeks. Nobody really likes to change a diaper, but we do because that's what we have to do. So those would be non-pleasurable feelings that have to deal with love. Some other emotions that have to do with what we feel, and probably what we've heard before. Being happy, being sad, being proud, being nervous, or feeling frustrated. All of these are emotions. Some of them are pleasurable, some of them are not pleasurable. But essentially the biggest key to all of this is that real love is more than a feeling. It's an act of the will. It's a behavior. Okay? I love my children, therefore I choose to do all the things that are important for them. Feed them, clothe them, support them, change their diapers, all of that. And it's essentially a decision that I make. And it's a decision that involves my mind and my will to be an action and a behavior. It involves commitment, it involves sacrifice, it involves essentially something unconditional. Without condition, I will take care of my kids. Without condition, I should take care of my family and my wife. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is think about that as I make a chart. Because God gave us romance and attraction. Essentially, when I met my wife, the first time that we were together, we went out to a restaurant. And it was the goofiest situation ever. In this day and age, in our culture, we were bombarded at this restaurant with a whole lot of alternative lifestyles that were around us. And as the night wore on, that became more and more prevalent. But we didn't notice that till we got up to leave. And it was the strangest thing. The only thing we noticed was talking to each other. And out of that feeling eventually came the love that we have for each other now, because it became a behavior. So, essentially, from that feeling of romance and attraction for her, my mind and will eventually decided that she was the one, and I was going to do everything I could to take care of her. So, I decided to make a little chart, and I'm going to list out all the names in our group. So, essentially, Rebecca is patient, which is part of love. And another person in our group, John, is kind. And another John in our group, he is not jealous. Another person in our group, Susan, she does not brag. Another person in our group, Erin, she is not arrogant. Me, Tom, I hope that I am not rude or unbecoming. John is not selfish or seek his own. That Rebecca is not angry or provoked. That Aaron does not hold grudges or rude. And that the other John rejoices not in the wrong, but in truth. Now that definition of love comes from Corinthians. If you've ever been to a wedding, you're going to hear that read. Love is patient, kind, not jealous, does not brag, is not arrogant, rude, and unbecoming, so on and so forth. It bears all things. That's what love does. Hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Real love in every case, then, is doing what is in the best interest of the loved one. That's what we do for our children. That's what I would do for my wife. But it's a growing process. 6 years ago when I got married, I was nowhere near the person that I am now in my ability to love and take care of my wife and my family. And then therefore it is something I have to work on every day. So essentially, in order for anybody ever to consider what the concept of love is, I believe what this program teaches is you have to be prepared to consider all of these things, that it's a behavior, it's not a feeling. And you have to be prepared to consider all of that as it is thought within the framework of marriage, because that's really where true love is. With all of these things, we find marital vows. And essentially every day, that I get up, I have to remember that those vows are for better or for worse, that I have to do each and every one of those things on that list. Sometimes I fail in them, sometimes I do well. So the basic things that we need you all to remember from this is that it is a daily commitment of the will, patience, mutual respect, understanding, trust, and forgiveness. It isn't just about falling in love to say, whoa, whoa, giddy this, giddy that. It's about not having selfishness or aggression, and it's about developing a power to protect that other person and protect that relationship. And so with that, then, we learned in session 2 how to show us who our bodies are and who we are. And now, in this session here, we are learning to show from our bodies and from our person how we love. So, hopefully you got from all of that real love is more than a feeling and it's an act of the will. And with that, I close.
That sounds like a lawyer.